Let's open this. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the photo book of the ages. Just look at this. I mean, look at this photo book, will you? I mean, just take a gander at this. Look at this. The famous back cover I've been talking about, where it looks like they kidnapped her. Truly a thing of legends. But is it truly legendary? That's what I will check right now, as this will be the Shiraishi Mai second photo book, Passport critique. Now I've finally uncovered it. Let's remove these little things which sometimes get in the way. And without it, it actually looks pretty nice. I actually prefer it without that thing on it. But now we get to the meat, the actual inside cover. Here we have a nice photo of Shiraishi. And we have the continuation. I actually like that they continued it right here. Very nice touch. So I think first what I'm going to do is just go over it briefly by myself, and then be able to come up with what photos I want to critique. So for me, it'll be a while, but for you guys, it'll be a jump cut right now. Oh, and you guys watch till the end for something surprising about this photo book that I will reveal. And we're back. Okay, so I've looked at the photo book, I've gone and analyzed it, and now I will talk about some of the photos that stuck out to me, whether they were bad or good. The middle ones I usually don't talk about unless it's like a cool location or a pose that really sticks out to me. Now, I'm always going to mention the first photo because that should be one of the better photos in the whole photo book. In my opinion, first and last photo should be super strong, so you always start off with them and get things in a good mood, and also you finish off with something good. That way you can always leave that last memory with something great. But this one I think is one of the average ones compared to everything else in this photo book. There are really some strong images in here, and I feel like this isn't one of the strongest. This has mood and everything, and the hair is pretty cool, covering the eye and everything. The lighting isn't bad. It's a little underlit, but this is a good image, but not one of the better ones. Now, something about this photo really speaks out to me. I think it's because they actually cropped everything right. Sometimes in these photo books, I see them crop off on the fingers, crop off on the waist, and generally you don't want to crop off at joints or make people look like amputees, which some other photo books did, which I can think of. But this example with the white borders, I think actually helps it. I'm usually against white space if it's used badly, but in this case I think it was used artistically. Instead of filling out the frame like this, it feels like there's more space to breathe with this. Also, this one's pretty cool how like exactly the nose is in focus and the hand. I'm being sarcastic, get everything in focus. This photo right here, great smile, overcast day, so it's going to be good lighting. And I mean, throughout this photo book, it seems like she had a hairstylist or a makeup artist or something like that, because her makeup and hair is on point. Then we move on to this photo. This photo has been revealed before, and this is super good image. I really like this image, from all the light coming in from the back, giving her like that shadow in the face, but just enough light to like show it. And they do that by raising the exposure a little bit, but making this blow out. And I think this is a really cool look. It's a really dark and moody look to it. And again, before I start, remember, pick up the photo book. It's 100,000 million times better than actually looking at it online or looking at a video like this. I feel like this is something of my opinion, and you should form your own opinion on it as well, because my opinion is from photographers, your opinion will be from fans, and there's so many different opinions around that you need to look at all of them, accumulate your own by actually getting the photo book and not just looking at online scans or videos. We move on to this image. Now, this image has too many distracting things in my opinion. First off, right off the bat, we got this in focus right here. Then we got this rack of clothes. It's kind of like a leading line, but there's too many distracting things there to distract. And we also got this guy right here who kind of distracts as well. I feel like even though she's wearing red with the red lipstick and her white skin, I feel like this isn't drawing enough attention, especially for her being close to the middle. We move on to this image. Again, this was previewed. Really like this image. This is like the nicest shallow depth of field and expression. I mean, this whole little transition, although I kind of don't know why they did this. Honestly, I would have preferred it to be like this one, full and then this one full. I feel like that would have felt a little bit better than having two squished in here like that. And even though I'm not a fan of the 1 second apart image, I feel like this is enough of a separation to make it justifiable. Let me move on to this image. Now this image has really nice lighting. I really like this lighting. This is a kind of like Rembrandt lighting that it has to her. And this is coming from a window over here. And I mean, this is generally a good image. It shows a little bit of character. Again, one thing I don't like though, all this empty space. I mean, just put it on the side. It's not that bad. I mean, I could turn the book. You don't have to do this kind of thing. This one I want to talk about. And the reason being is that there's someone else who's also the main subject, which is pretty rare in these photo books. I feel like only if it's like family members sometimes. There's other people included. But this guy's like full in focus. He's more in focus than Mayan is actually. And it's actually pretty interesting to see. And I feel like this adds a lot of character to the photo book, showing this kind of like atmosphere to it. Then move on to this one. This one's super good posing wise. I feel like posing wise, this is one of the best shots in here. And this pose, just like that classic S curve, which is something in modeling. This image is super good. As we see, it goes curve, 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 curve everywhere, and really adds emphasis, especially to a woman's body. And I mean, the background isn't the best, and this kind of weird reflection right here isn't the best. I feel like the pose overall, like just looking at that, it's just like makes up for it completely. Next, I want to talk about these two images that are coming up. This is the first one I want to talk about, and with this one, I feel like you gotta include this. Again, a wide angle going like this would be way better than having a portrait image instead of a landscape image. Because I mean, the lighting is super good. I mean, super flat on her face. In this example, since it's reflecting off something, it's actually pretty good. So, I mean, and plus it flows through the dress and everything, and it makes everything look sultry, and I think it's a good image. If it wasn't for this part over here, which makes us move on to the next one, where it's kind of to the side. It's weird cutting it right here and then not showing the legs once again. Again, it would have been way better to like back up a little, include the legs, and have it to the side. That way there's no weird empty spaces, especially when you're trying not to get your face in the middle. So you move to the side in order for her to be on this side, but then leaving this awkward space over here. Now next I want to talk about this one. This one I actually like a lot. If it wasn't for one thing, can you guys guess what that is? Now that I think about it, it's two things. But number one is this car in the background. You could have waited like literally less than a second for that car to go away. I mean, I know there's a lot of cars there, but I mean, showing the red right here really distracts for me. Number two is the sun flare would have been good if you just would have scooted down just a little bit more. That way this big circle isn't on her forehead. But other than that, I actually really like this image. I like how she's the focus, even though we have all this distraction in the background, but it's all blurred out, so it makes it kind of like painterly, and I really like that painterly look to it. We move on to this series of images. I think this is just fun. Again, look, wide angle. You gotta learn from these wide angles, man. Now I want to talk about this image right here. This image, I would say, could have been number one image I've seen, but unfortunately she kind of blends in the background a little. If you would have had a backlight, this would have came out so much better. I mean, I know it's hard to have a backlight, but I mean, if there is a makeup artist or a hairstylist, I mean, it wouldn't hurt. Take a little LED light, run back there real quick, kind of separate her from the background. I feel like that would have made this image top notch. Look, right here we can see different spots right here, different pockets of actual light. So I wonder what would happen if you would have made her walk back a little into the shade, but then have the light over here kind of blowing out a little and making that the hair light. I'm interested. Now we move on to these two images. This is from the back cover, and this one is a close-up view of what is actually going on. Let me just say what she's wearing is pretty interesting. I mean, I know they like to wear this like see-through material, but this, like this, it kind of looks like Celtic stuff. I mean, it's a weird mixture really. And I mean, I'm not 100% sure whether color-wise that really goes with everything that's going on here. Maybe if it were like a red car, then it'd look good. Maybe a yellowish, dark yellow kind of thing. Maybe that would look good. Now I want to talk about this. This is a cat. Now we have, why are you doing this to me? We have these two images right here, and they could have been good. I'm telling you, like, these could have been excellent, but you have to put the empty spaces. Why do you always have to put the empty spaces? Photography wise, it's black on the image, white over here, distracts too much from the eye. This is an art gallery, make it look good, and this does not help it look good at all. This actually distracts from it and takes the focus away from whatever is going on over here, which is actually pretty nice posing and lighting, but you can't even tell because it's so small, and all this empty space takes away the attraction from this. We move to these two. Now I want to stick something out over here. This is that 1 second apart thing I talked about. Do you notice something that's off about these two? I'll give you a second. The problem with these two is, if you notice, you see this is straight and this is sideways, which is super distracting to me. That's the first thing that stuck out of my eye. Looked at it, saw they were like sideways and everything, not even corrected right. I mean, it's like they took these photos straight out of the camera and just like plastered it on. If this escaped both the photographer and one of the editor's hands. I mean, if it's in your hands, you can actually see it and see how distracting it is. I mean, to me, it's very distracting having this sideways line, especially. Like, not even paying attention to this one, just this one by itself. This one I want to talk about. Something I like about this one is the reflection in here. Something I don't like is how contrasty it is. Maybe a reflector wouldn't really fit in this one. With the face, it would be too hard because, I mean, right here is not as dark as it is on the face, so something's going on. I think it could have still been better. These two images actually seemed a little bit obligatory to me. There's nothing that really stands out, and I mean, having this blue tone to it really doesn't help it. I mean, literally drop an eyedropper right there, get the right color, and make it a little bit warm, and I feel like this will have a totally different feel. Right now, it feels like it's a medical room, and there's a curtain there, and there's a patient just hiding. I want to talk about this series of images right here. These could have been better, although her expression is great. I feel like this smile with this pose right here would have been top-notch. And I mean, it isn't a bad series of images, but again, it could be a little better by not having all this empty space. Now, something that distracts me about these two images is, well, it's not this for sure. It's actually something that maybe you forgot, but this actually already happened, this scenario. It happened pages back. It happened right here where I was covering this, because you should go buy the photo book. I mean, this and this, do you notice the similarity? And I mean, going from this image to this image, it kind of makes sense because they're both like super light and like they have that silky material. But looking over here, it's very similar because it is actually part of the same series. It's just obviously in a different window because I mean, even the colors of the walls are the same. But I just wanted to point that out real quick. We move on to this image. This could have been so much better. But again, that cut down the middle. Again, just do landscape. I have no problem turning the photo book for a better image. So much potential, especially with the lighting and everything, with the costume and the pose. It could have been so much better. I feel like half of these have been so far because of the empty space and the weird cropping that they have on them because of this center page. Then we move on to this one right here. This one has excellent lighting. This is like one of those classic Rembrandt lighting, and face turned towards the light, body away from the light, adding shape to the body, giving the face clarity and less wrinkles and stuff like that because the light is straight on. But this is classic right here. This one right here actually got my attention, and that's because of the red she's wearing. Compared to everything brown that's going on around, I feel like the red really sticks out. It doesn't stick out as much on the lips as I'd want to, but the dress really sticks out. If this were a better pose, then it would have been super excellent, and maybe another shot of a wider one where she's in the tree would have been a good idea too. We move on to this one. Actually, this pose is really nice. This is like one of those classic poses that like everyone should remember. But what I really like about this is the colors in this. I mean, look at this green background that then all of a sudden, bam, this purple just sticks out. And it's a really good stick out. Like, it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. It sticks out like a beautiful rose. I'm telling you, there must be like a hairstylist or something because everything about this is super good. And this is actually in the same location as the other one was that I liked. So that's pretty interesting find. A close up on the leg. As a fan like that, as a photographer, I'm like, is that really necessary? This one, I understand what they were going for, but I feel like it didn't turn out as well as they wanted to. I feel like you can easily fix this by adding a graduated ND filter, making this dark and making her a little brighter would actually make this pop so much, because I mean, it's dark in there, obviously, and over here is all bright, so then darken that up, making this the same exposure as that would have really made her stand out, especially with all this white over here. This one, I think, is one of my favorite images in this photo book. I don't know why. Some of her blends in the background, but that green, combining with her, kind of making complementary colors, or tones more like, is really, really good. I don't even know how to make this better. Maybe backlight again, like most of these images, but maybe if the dress were different or something. But again, it's all about the mood, and this dark corner mood, like you can see there's like a little vignetting over here, a little over here, and that's actually really good. I wish there was a vignette over there just to make things a little more uniform. But I mean, this image is really good. Now these series of images, I would have liked this one to be bigger and this one to be bigger. These images say a lot, and even though they're second apart, I feel like you can still appreciate them because they're so drastic in the moods. Hey, you guys want to see another image that was ruined by empty space? Well, that's this one. All black theme with whites over here, but since it transitions to black over here, when you just see this transition to black and then white, I mean, I can see how you can make an excuse for this. I feel like they should have went all out or not at all. What I'm thinking right now is, oh, we didn't get any of the black outfit, so we're gonna just throw that in there. I mean, generally this image is pretty good. That backlighting with black curtains and black surroundings would have been excellent, but that empty space. I'm not really a fan of these messy eating photos. I feel like it's kind of obligatory, and I feel like sometimes the girls aren't into it. I feel like it's kind of like a, here, do this now. This image actually isn't bad. I know there were other images with this rose wall. I wish I could have seen some of those. This raining image doesn't look bad, especially with what she's wearing. I feel like there's enough light right here to separate her from the background. Again, with the dress and her being lit properly, which is something interesting even though it's raining and the background is darker. They could have put lights on here, but that's not 100% positive. Now I want to talk about this one, and the reason why is because of two things. Well, three things. Well, the third one you guys already know. That's the fact that there's empty spaces. But another thing is the eye. The eye, I think, is really complimentary. I think it adds like a certain mood to this picture actually, where if she would have just been looking like this, then it would have been a very different image from what this is right now. And even though the hand is kind of awkward showing the front of it, which usually doesn't look that good because then it looks like your fingers are short and everything. But in this case, I don't actually mind it that much, because another thing catches my eye, and that's what we call dapple lighting, which is when like you go under a tree and then there's like light spots all over you. That's what this is, dapple lighting. And I usually don't like dapple lighting. It can be really bad, especially if you're at a park and stuff like that. But I feel like in this case, it actually adds to it because it's on a couch. It's kind of like out of the ordinary. And because she's covering one eye, it kind of like adds to that dappleness of the image. So I think that was a pretty good choice to do. This image right here kind of reminds me of another image. It actually reminds me of this, but the reason is because I like the lighting in it. It's a very moody lighting. And even though it's not contrasty, it still is moody. I mean, right here we have some lights over here on the hair. Always appreciate good hair lights. But we also got the light coming in from up here, sort of Rembrandt style. If I were to turn off one of my lights, that's how it would look. And we have a little bit of fill under, as we can see right here in the reflection of her eye. But this is a good lighting photo, and nothing in the background really distracts. And I think this is a good image. Ooh, now we move on to these. Now these are a little bit interesting because they're super different from everything else. This is that colored lighting that I really like myself. And the image that I like from these two is actually this one right here. I guess I'm just a fan of a wider angle, I've noticed. And this one I feel like has way more of a presence and actual mood to it than this one. This one does have a mood, but this one kind of looks like she's tired mood. While this one actually says, yo, I have attitude. It's everything from keeping the body straight on to having your hand out and having the other one hidden under the jacket, along with the head up and kind of like looking down at the camera kind of expression. Super good. The green doesn't distract me too much from the image. I think it adds a little bit of separation and doesn't make it all red, which will make it look like one of those old film processing rooms. I'm generally not a fan of this type of lighting. This is the on-camera flash kind of lighting with a speed light, and you do a slow shutter speed in the night, which makes everything look all wobbly like this. Usually not a fan of this, but I think in this case it actually helped it. And the reason why is because this is sort of like a Hollywood feel. This is like what old photographers used to do with their flash. They used to do this type of image, and I feel like since she's in LA, I feel like this really added to that atmosphere. And then we get to the long interview. I mean, this is in English. You can make the rest of it in English, right? And as always, they have a little Easter egg right here. These two images. I wonder how it would have turned out if you had an edge light for this. I know this kind of like fades into the darkness, and that's what they were going for. But I feel like if maybe they added like a black reflector, kind of like what I'm using right here, to kind of make this more in shadow, so then it kind of like fades her body like into nothingness, instead of having like a little bit of leg over here, or over here a little bit of leg. But I mean, we want to see this, right? So that's the money shot right there. No, but I think it would have been interesting to either have an edge light or have more of a black fade off. And that'll do it for this photo book critique. Now, let me know what you guys thought down below. Let me know if this like brought up some things and whether you think about it a little bit different. I love to know what you guys think about it. And also, remember, pick up the photo book. You get to see it in person. You get to touch it. You get to flip through it. You get to see everything, because I did not talk about everything. I talked about like 1/5 of the photo book. There are so many other images in here, and there's some images that might stick out to you. There are some images in there that really stick out to me as a fan. A lot of fan favorites in there. Photography favorites I already talked about, but fan favorites, oh man, there's so much good stuff in here. But for sure, pick this up. Definitely recommend to everyone. But you can also see the past critiques I did on other photo books. I did Matsui Rena, Shiraishi Mai's first photo book, Ikuta Erika, so many others. You can go see the playlist that I have. I will link it at the end screen. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to subscribe to see when the next variety or news video will come out. Thank you all for watching. Oh, and for those of you who are watching till the end, there's something coming up soon about this photo book, which is part 2 of this video. Be sure to watch out for that.